Test, test. You good? Well, good evening, everyone. How about them Tigers today? Where's Coach Simple at? Is he here? I'm going to single him out, and he's going to be mad at me. Where's he at? He's here. Attaboy, Coach. Good win, man. On behalf of our entire athletic department and campus community, we would like to welcome you to the 2023 Athletic Hall of Fame banquet. This is always just a special highlight each year where we get to honor some of the most accomplished and influential athletes, contributors, coaches, and teams. Tonight is special in an appropriate way to celebrate and conclude our 110th homecoming week at Dakota Wesleyan. Before we officially start tonight's program, I would like to give a special thanks to everyone who made this event possible. Our support staff, Marlene Warnke, she's the boss, as everybody knows. She's the MVP of this thing every year and a lot of other things. Bo, our SID, and John, those guys work tirelessly around the clock for this event and others. Our fantastic administrative team, some of which are here tonight, Dr. Kittle and Kitty Allen, and our advancement folks, Jory Hansen. Our IT team that's up there, Eric and Pedro, those guys do a great job with the tech that's included tonight and all the visuals. Our physical plant, Sandy, she does a ton of work. She's back there. She flips this room constantly throughout homecoming week. I want to thank her. Our Hall of Fame committee, who's listed in the back of our programs. Fresh Ideas, Nathan, Carl, and our softball team that's serving us tonight. It's always an incredible meal with that crew. And then lastly, just our entire coaching staff and the rest of our athletic team, amazing group of people that I get to work with on a daily basis. So I'm grateful for all of the work that they do for our student athletes and our programs, just making this event and a lot of events throughout the week a highlight. This is always a really busy week for us, Blue and White Days, but please join me in thanking all those individuals. I would also like to take this opportunity and ask that all of our past DWU Athletic Hall of Fame inductees please stand if you're in attendance. Don't be shy, please. I know there's a few of you here. Give a round of applause for those folks. And each of those individuals and others are listed in the back of our program as well. And then in addition, I would like to ask that all of our DWU alumni please stand and be recognized as well, all DWU alumni. To all of our alumni, welcome back to campus, and it's great to have you all here as well. At this time, please help me welcome Dr. President Kittle to the stage to give the presidential greeting.
Thanks, John. Just good evening, everybody. And really, before I say just a few remarks, I just wanted to recognize John. In terms of all the people that have been thanked, John should be one of those individuals. You all are part of athletic teams through your life, and you know those glue guys, right? Those people who do everything at a timely fashion for the benefit of the team, and that's John. So thank you, John. So I just wanted to offer my congratulations to those of you who will be honored tonight for our Hall of Fame. It's a special accomplishment. And I'm sure as you've maybe thought about it with your family and friends, you might reflect back on times you've had in terms of with your family as a young person. And so I'm at the stage of my life where I have a 9-year-old who's involved in all sorts of athletic events. And you see the influence of parents and coaches and teammates and those who organize those events. And your lives with athletics started with those people. And then it came to Dakota Wesleyan. And what I hope you know is that you are certainly aware that your family and friends are proud of you. I hope you know that Dakota Wesleyan is very proud of you. And so tonight is a night to honor you and to thank you and to welcome you into this Hall of Fame, which is a special honor and an honor that we're really privileged to share with you this evening. So congratulations to all of you, and enjoy your evening. Before I exit the stage, I'd like to introduce one of our new colleagues, Pastor Anthony Purcell. And Pastor Anthony's been with us only a month, but I was telling a story, and I haven't had a chance to tell Anthony this, so I'm going to say this here, which is that at coronation earlier in the week, there were a number of students that were sharing some of their meaningful experiences at Wesleyan. And one of those students mentioned Pastor Anthony, who's been here a month. And so I think he's off to a great start. And Pastor Anthony, I invite you to the stage.
Hi, friends. It is just so wonderful. It's so wonderful to gather together tonight to celebrate the ambition, the drive, the determination, and most importantly, I think, the team spirit displayed by so many who have represented Dakota Wesleyan on the track, the field, the mat, and the court. As I look out tonight over past and present student athletes of Wesleyan, I stand so proud of a community that, in my short time, I can only say embodies the heart and the spirit of Paul's vision in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, where the apostle calls us to lean in, to give all that we have to pursue Jesus' calling on our lives. And he uses these words. Don't you all realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They work hard to win a prize that will fade away in this present world. But all of us are called to work hard for an eternal prize. So run, my friend, with purpose in every step you take. Don't just shadow box, rather discipline your body just like an athlete, training it to do what it should. And as Riley said just earlier this week, we have to set our eyes above and push ourselves up the hill before us again and again and again. That sort of determination and grit, I think, characterizes each and every one of you. And I hope you all will continue to put your drive and your team spirit into play with your lives as you pursue your passions and your calling alongside your current teams and alongside your Creator. So, friends, as we gather tonight to celebrate our community's shared victories, let us also set a vision for a higher hill before us to climb in the coming days and years. Let's pray together, friends. Oh God and King, we praise you with our hearts and our spirits tonight. Lord, you have given us the gift of learning. May we see value in it and be thankful. God, you have given us the gift of leadership, and so may we remain humble and just as leaders. Lord, you have given us the gift of faith. May we continue to grow and hold fast. Creator, you have given us the gift of service, so may we always be aware and willing of those who are in need. We pray, Jesus, that we might always use these gifts you have given us to build a world where peace, justice, love, and hope reign. God, may each and every one of us train, support each other, and run the race which you have set before us, so that at our end we might each be able to say, I too have fought the good fight. I too have finished the race. I too have kept the faith. We praise you, God, for this food and this fellowship. And we pray for the blessing of your Spirit on the hands and the hearts who have made this moment possible with their effort and their energy. In the name of your Son, Jesus, we pray tonight, O God. Amen. Thanks, friends.
Dinner is served. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I know some of you are still enjoying your meals, so please continue to do so while we get things kicked off. Our first inductee of the night is Thomas Gullidge. Thomas Gullidge, a 2005 graduate, was a multi-year starter for the DWU baseball program after transferring from Lynn Benton Community College in Albany, Oregon. During his time at DWU, Thomas garnered numerous accolades, including being named the 2005 GPAC Player of the Year. He was an NAI All-American, a two-time All-GPAC selection, and was a key contributor for their GPAC championship titles. During 2005 season, he broke school records for most RBIs, hits, and doubles in a single season. Thomas currently resides in Mitchell with his wife Gina and daughter Ada. He is an active member and a familiar face in the Mitchell community as he works with the fitness and wellness coordinator for the city of Mitchell, and Gullidge is also an adjunct professor for the DWU Sports Medicine program. Please direct your attention to the screens for a short video highlighting Thomas. Please help me welcome to the stage Thomas Gullidge and his presenter, Adam Nysius.
Thank you much, John. I'm not a leadoff hitter. Never been a leadoff hitter in my life. I'm probably better of an 8-hole, give or take, but I know Thomas didn't hit at the bottom of the order. So, absolute pleasure to be here. I've had the privilege of being here a couple times now to get some guys in, and I hope more guys get in because it's well deserved. But I want to say congratulations first to all the inductees. This is a once in a lifetime. I think very few understand the time and effort and dedication it takes to be a college athlete. It's hard, very hard. So congratulations to all the inductees tonight. Coach Simple, congrats. Homecoming wins are huge, right? Absolutely, congratulations. I want to thank Thomas. I want to thank his family. Man, Denny and Lisa, I haven't seen you guys forever. Thomas's mom and dad, I went out and visited Thomas. I think it's literally been close to 20 years. Great to see you. But the whole Merrick family and Jeremy and Will and Corey and Chris, and thanks a bunch for coming. Love you guys. Really cool to come out and share this moment with them. And then I've got to thank my wife Sarah for joining me. I love you the most, but thanks for coming up. Really appreciate that. Golage, I don't know how we got him. He was a dude. I mean, he was really good. But we had a good relationship with his junior college Coach Hawk, and he was crazy, 100%. So I called Coach Hawk and I said, give me a list, and he said, well, I got this guy. I got a couple guys, but this guy you'd really like. And I said, well, just give me one thing that I can really focus on when I try to get him, because it was a position we needed, and I thought he would have done really well here. And Coach Hawk said he wants to play. He wants to play. I said, well, I get that. Everybody wants to play. He goes, but playing time's important. So, and I'll get to the playing time piece. So I went out and saw Thomas play, and I was actually very lucky. Their seasons pushed back a little bit deeper into the spring, summer than the regular NAI season. So I got a chance to go out and watch him play, and I really liked him. So I wanted nothing more than Thomas to play, and he had options. So I'm going to tell you that I didn't lie. Thomas played 114 baseball games here in 2 years. He started every single game, which gives a testament to the condition he was in. I saw some pictures. Whew, goodness gracious. And you've all aged better than I, but Thomas is getting a little thin up here, kind of. Yeah. 114 games he played here in 2 years, won 2 championships, and I think we won 74 of those. That's pretty impressive. And he ran full speed into a bullpen bench over at the birdcage. You still call it the birdcage? Full speed. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I ran down there and I'm like, Thomas, you all right? He goes, yeah, I'll be all right. Ran back out. Didn't say another word. So you played. Absolutely. And probably one of the many reasons why he was so successful, because he was so disciplined, able to adjust, unmatched confidence. And it was so quiet, it was almost eerie, but unmatched confidence. And he was that silent killer, and that's the kind of player I like. Never said hardly anything, and showed up and beat your brains in. Pretty cool. One time, I thought about sitting Thomas Golage. One time. We were in Florida. Thomas hit a laser stand-up double, no-brainer. He stood and he gets to the base and get the ball in from left center, I think it was, and the shortstop ran by and tagged him and ran off the field. And I was looking around, and umpire goes, "Hiya," banged him, and I'm like, Thomas, what are you doing? So I walked out to get the helmet from him. He goes, Coach, I wasn't standing on the base, man. I said, what? He goes, I wasn't standing on the base. I said, my bad, Thomas. I should have gone over that in the fall, man. 100% my fault. And then he told me this. He goes, Skip, the bases were empty, man. I'll hit another one later in the game. And he did. Yeah, that was Thomas Golage in a nutshell. So an unbelievable first year. We had a meeting, all our exit meetings, and I'll never forget this, Thomas. I sat him down and said, what do you want to do to be better? And the first thing you said near and dear to my heart. He said, I want to take 50 more swings a day. That's it. He goes, Coach, I'm going to get there before practice. I don't want anybody else there. I want to take 50 extra swings a day. I said, fantastic. And he goes, and I want to throw more guys out. And I said, well, Thomas, you got a great arm. You can do that. And he goes, at first base. I said, Thomas, you're a right fielder, dude. He goes, at first base. And you did. 3 that year. At first base. So, unbelievable. Great player. I think the second year numbers speak for themselves. Here's the one that rings a bell for me. GPAC Player of the Year, unbelievable, All-American, unbelievable. He was the Region 4 Player of the Year. That year, it was a 36-team region. And I'm going to be conservative here. That's 1,200 baseball players. 1,200. And he was the Region Player of the Year. Unbelievable. So I'm going to bring the 3-hole hitter up. Incredible honor, incredible privilege to introduce Hall of Famer Thomas Gullidge.
All right, well, let's try and follow that. Thank you, Coach. So this is interesting to me. I speak a lot, like that's the truth. It's not going to sound like it when I do this because this is so far out of my comfort zone. You have no idea how actually scared I am standing in front of you, which is interesting because I've spoken at graduations as your alumni speaker, and I teach here, believe it or not. They actually let me teach here. Can you guys actually, the people that played with me are like, there is no way that you're actually teaching at this college, but I am, and it's really fun. Like the kids will tell you that it sucks, but it's fun for me. I have a great time with it. So I do want to say congratulations to all the other inductees, obviously, and Dr. Kittle, please don't take the whole teaching thing to heart and fire me, because I really do enjoy it. But congratulations to everybody, right? Because Coach Nicey said it perfectly. This is really, really hard to be standing up here, and it's really hard to be a college athlete. And yeah, Coach Simple, you should be really proud of that today. You know, that was the first game I watched in a long time, just because I've got a 14-year-old daughter that takes up my time, and that was fun to watch. The actual crowd, like the electricity that was abundant in that stadium was unreal. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. Coach Simple, congratulations, because that is a huge win, and that kind of deserves another round of applause. Now, I also understand 5 to 8 minutes. John, I heard you on the text, so I'm going to hurry up, okay? I want to talk about some of the people that mean the most to me, okay? And some of those start with the players that I had a chance to play with. Some are here, Will, Chris, Jeremy, Corey. You know, it was crazy because what we had in 03, 04, 04, 05 was something a little bit different. And Coach Nicias, if you look at the record, you are the winningest baseball coach that Dakota Wesleyan's ever had, and not enough gets said about that, because what you've done and the aura that you created and the program that you created is why I ended up here. If you guys wouldn't have won in 02, 03, 01, 02, I probably wouldn't have come to South Dakota. And that's proof that there is a God. That really shook my friends, because I never talk about stuff like that. But I'll wrap it up at the end with why I do actually believe that there is a God, because I do. And this place, believe it or not, is what showed that to me. Not that my parents didn't do a great job, love you guys, but it takes life, right? It takes life to actually figure that out. So, Coach Nicias, I do really need to talk about you, because that was wonderful. And Sarah, thank you for sharing him and allowing him to come up here and actually do this, because that meant the world to me. I do get a chance to be around Mitchell, but if Coach Nicias wouldn't have made that call and actually talked to my junior college coach and then made a call, and I picked up a phone on the wall, which anybody under the age of 20 doesn't know what that is, then I wouldn't be here. And the best thing that's ever happened to me, my wife and my daughter, that wouldn't be a thing. And realistically, that's how I do know there's a God, because the things that had to happen, the circumstances that actually had to come into play for me to end up in Mitchell, South Dakota, are astronomical. This isn't bragging, believe it or not. I was actually getting recruited by Pac-12 teams when I was a sophomore in high school, and we had a lot of traction because I grew up in Oregon. I was at Oregon State, the same city, and for some reason, everything just kind of kept falling through the cracks. Thank God, right? For me, I'm saying thank God. You guys are probably like, get out of Mitchell, but I'm like, I love this place, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. My wife, Gina, my daughter, Ada, I wouldn't have that in my life, and that's actually something that I thank God for every day, and I thank God for Dakota Wesleyan because of that. There's 3 people that are in the stands. I say stands. Wow, I'm kind of still an athlete, apparently. There's 3 people that are in the crowd right now that mean the world to me, 3 of my friends. But they don't understand how much of an impact they had on my time at Dakota Wesleyan as well, or my time in Mitchell, South Dakota. So, sorry, Jeremy, Adam, and Chris, I am going to talk about you, and that is why I wanted you guys here so much. Now, I'm 40 years old, okay, and I kind of work for the college, so don't fire me over this one either. But Jeremy, you actually grabbed me at the first party I ever went to at Dakota Wesleyan University, and I was uncomfortable, because I didn't know anybody. I'm from Oregon. I was really out of my comfort zone. But Jeremy Nielsen grabbed me and made sure that I was actually comfortable at that party and met people and had the chance to actually interact and feel like myself. That I still haven't forgotten, and I do want to thank you for that. And obviously in the years since, we've become extremely close, and I thank God for our relationship. Now, Adam, you don't understand. We work together. This is going to be weird for everybody that doesn't know him. What you don't understand is I was actually about to quit when your dad approached us and talked about working with the Mitchell High basketball team, and specifically you. And it was actually your class that kept me at the rec center where Chris Cranny hired me, and everybody blames you, and that is the truth, because you actually talked everybody into hiring me at the rec center. 3 people that I never would have interacted with otherwise, right, in Mitchell, South Dakota, because, again, I was from the West Coast. And it's interesting, because there's other people that I got the chance to actually meet, which would be my in-laws. And, you know, I have the best in-laws ever. Denny, Lisa, Chris, Corey, Destiny, and Cassie, you guys have to understand how much that this family does mean to me, because it does. It means the world. And the fact that you guys have allowed me in here and allowed me to be a part of your family really does mean a ton. The first thing that I actually had happen to me when I was in South Dakota, I got hit in the head with a baseball during a fall ball game, and my father-in-law, who I did not know was going to be my father-in-law at that point, comes over and started administering care. Now, again, you guys saw pictures of me. I wasn't exactly like a timid guy. I was kind of on edge. I was a little bit big and buff, and he comes over and starts trying to do this. I'm like, dude, who are you? Why are you in our dugout, and why are you administering care to me? And I didn't figure out until a couple years later, just the caring and the absolute wonderful heart that my father-in-law, Dennis, has. And I do want to thank you guys, because what you've allowed me to be a part of is a true family, and I do absolutely 100% adore you guys. I love you. And one more thing I have to talk about, which is going to be my own parents. Boy, I better get to that one, right? Mom and Dad, absolutely love you, and I meant everything that I wrote. Better writer than I am a speaker. And when I talk to you guys, and when I do tell you how much I absolutely adore you and how much you meant to me, a couple stories come to mind, and then I'll be done, I promise. So my mom's a liar. Now, a really good liar, like super good liar. And when I got out here, we didn't own a Globe, so we flew to Minneapolis and drove to Sioux Falls and then to Mitchell, right? And I'd never seen this place. So, you know, think of the circumstances. I get a call from a random guy named Adam about the Corn Palace town, and he asked me to come to college halfway across the country. And I tell him yes, because it was just time, right? It was just what I wanted to do, because I wanted to play. I wanted to continue to play baseball. So we end up here, and on our way from Sioux Falls to Mitchell, I'm looking left and right, and if you've ever been to Western Oregon, you've seen trees. There ain't no trees out here. So I look left, I look right, I ask my mom, what's going on? And she goes, oh, honey, don't bring that up around here. That ruined farmers. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, there was a tree blight back in the 60s that ruined crops across South Dakota. And I was like, that can't be true, but my mom said it, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with it. So Dan Wagner is my advisor, and I can remember we were meeting up in the north end of this building, and we're sitting there, and I look at him and I go, okay, I kind of know you now, Dan. So I reach across the table and I go, hey man, your family wasn't affected by the tree blight, was it? And I can remember he leaned back, and Dan's smart. Like, Dan's a super smart cat. He leans back, he pulls open my transcripts again, looks at my grades, and goes, "You can't be that stupid, can you?" And I look over at my mom, she's laughing in the corner. And I'm like, thanks. The first impression in the new town that I moved to was I'm the biggest idiot here. I was like, this can't be real. But it's the truth. That absolutely 100% happened. And until I was 16, I believed she was going to be the Queen of Iceland, too. That's a whole nother story, but that's true. So I do love you guys. And I do want to say that the last story I'll tell is about a screwdriver, as weird as that sounds. Probably the biggest disappointment in my father's life. My first job was at a fitness center in Oregon. They made me the maintenance guy, not understanding what my strengths and weaknesses were. And my father, by trade, was a mechanic. He owned a business, but he was a mechanic. So I think they probably thought maybe it runs in the genes or something like that. So my boss, Brian Painter, looks at me and one day goes, "I need the Phillips head screwdriver." And I looked down, bit my lip, and I went, "Is that the plus or the minus?" And he goes, "What'd you just say to me?" And I go, "The plus or the minus screwdriver. Like, look at the tip of it. Is it a plus or is it a minus?" And he goes, "I need to call your father," which he did call my father. And I have never gotten lectured like that from my dad. I've struck out a billion times, but I have never gotten a lecture from my father about anything other than a plus and a minus screwdriver. I want to say thank you to everybody and enjoy the rest of your night. Congratulations, and thank you for making me a part of the Dakota Wesleyan University family.
Congrats again, Thomas, and thank you, Coach Nysius. Our next inductee is Lauren Tadlock. Lauren Tadlock, a 2016 graduate, was a three-time All-GPAC honoree during her career with Tiger Volleyball, securing All-GPAC second and first-team honors in 2015 and 2016. For her senior campaign, she was also named to the American Volleyball Coaches Association All-Region team. Only playing at Wesleyan for 3 seasons, Tadlock currently sits 4th all-time in kills, 20th all-time in digs, and Lauren was a frequent recipient of the GPAC Player of the Week, and she played a major role in restoring a winning culture for the program. Lauren currently lives in Rapid City, South Dakota, where she works as a project and public relations manager. She also serves as an online nutrition coach. Please direct your attention to the screen for a short video highlighting Lauren. please help me welcome to the stage Lauren Tadlock and her presenter, Lindsay Wilbur.
First of all, congratulations to all the inductees that are getting in today. This is fun for me because this is my first coach player that is in the Hall of Fame, so this is fun tonight. It's an honor and a privilege to talk about our next inductee, Lauren. She came to DWU at a unique time where there wasn't a volleyball coach, and I was hired in January of 2014. And I first met Lauren that spring, met the team. We had a lot of work to do. Like, I knew that there was going to be some ups and downs along the way. But I was really excited to have Lauren as a really talented athlete on the group. And I say we went through some ups, and many, many downs during that time. But Lauren always stayed really committed to me and to our program. I remember that during those times, we would use the term, it's part of the process, it's part of the process. You remember that? And I think that, I don't know if it was my second year, or maybe even my third year when we were making some progress, but we lost like a 5-setter, and I can't remember who it was, and I was probably crying, because I think I cried a lot then. And, was it Midland? Oh, dang. And I think they were number 1, weren't they, or something? Yeah, there was probably a couple. And she looked at me and she's like, Coach, it's part of the process. We're going to be fine. Like, she had to talk me down about it. So, but she honestly, during those times where she was a catalyst in turning this program around, just because she never wavered. She stayed true to the program, and she stayed true to me as a coach and what we were trying to do. And, you know, from her, I say homemade, but I don't think it was, that peanut butter powder stuff that you would always make your own peanut butter that you'd bring on road trips, to needing a 12-inch sub when, seriously, she talked about it up there too, Subway. At the time, beginning, our budget only allotted for a 6-inch. She would just get on me and she's like, I need a 12-inch to get through the match. Can I get a 12-inch? She would, a lot of times the girls then would pay for their part of their 12-inch because that was my rules, and I was a stickler with rules back then with that kind of stuff. So, but she was a solid contributor to our program during that time. When she was a senior, she'd been here for 3 years, and to get 1,400 kills in 3 years is incredible. We had our first winning season in 23 years during her senior year, and Lauren also was first team all GPAC that year. And that hadn't happened in 14 years for a volleyball athlete, so it was a really big deal. Lauren is extremely loyal. She's extremely committed. She's true to what she believes in. And if you don't believe in what she believes in, hit the road. And she's extremely dedicated. Are some words just to describe her. I'm really, really proud of you. Congratulations.
Okay, hello everyone. I want to start off by saying congratulations to all the fellow inductees. It really is an honor and a privilege to be up here alongside you all. So I want to start off by saying I'm very appreciative and grateful for this honor myself. I really feel like I stumbled my way into Dakota Wesleyan. I grew up believing volleyball was forever, and college was essentially just an extension of being able to continue to play. At the end, I got a degree for adulting. As you can probably already conclude, school was not my spiritual gift. It was something I simply had to do in order to continue to play the game. And apparently you had to maintain a certain grade in GPA, so I thought, okay, I will play your game if you let me play mine. Senior season of high school came and went, and while I was sending out all of my highlight film to anyone that would accept it, I was less than thrilled to send out any information about the academic side of my life. I struggled to get calls or emails back, and I knew that my dream of continuing to play in college was getting closer and closer to its end. My brother, Nick, would tell me to consider going to a junior college to get my grades up. And he was also not the biggest fan of high school academics, but was able to continue playing baseball at a junior college in Mississippi. I gave in, let go of my ego, and was accepted by Iowa Central Community College. Nick also gave me some great advice before I left for preseason training. I know he's like, what did I tell you? He said, you may have been one of the top players in high school at your position, but in college, no one gives a crap about you. And that was the clean version. It really broke my brain at the time, but it definitely scared me into a growth mindset. Nick, as you will come to find out, is at the heart of my journey. It started and definitely ended with him. After my time at my JUCO in Iowa, I was able to get my grades up, but I felt really lost. I quit at the start of my sophomore season, and try not to count how many years I was in college while you're going through this. But I had quit again at the start of my sophomore season. There was an unexpected coaching staff change, and I thought I just wanted to try out this regular college kid life and see what getting a degree was all about. I continued playing volleyball at the club level when I transferred to the University of Northern Iowa, but I had a bad taste in my mouth toward the game. I had a phone call with Nick as my first semester at UNI was coming to a close and expressed my frustrations with where I was at. At the time, Nick was in his final year as a student athlete at DWU, and I remember saying, "What do you think about me trying to play volleyball again? Do you think I'm good enough to play at DWU?" Nick replied with, "You're probably pretty out of shape, but I watched those girls the other night and they hit the ball on the tape a lot, so you might have a chance." The confidence was very high. I put together an email to the coach at the time, and Nick said he would vouch that I didn't totally suck. And in the meantime, I prepared my transfer paperwork and crossed my fingers. About 1 week after, the coach emailed me back and said that he did remember me from high school and that I could come on a visit. He was released. So I thought, well, what do I do now? I told Nick that I still wanted to transfer, but I knew I was flying in blind at that point. Nick said he'd talked to the associate AD at the time, John Hart, and vouched for me. And I thought, and see what he could do. By some miracle, which I now know is Nick's reputation and character, John helped push it through. I packed up my car, left that semester, and I headed back to South Dakota. I soon heard of the hiring of the new volleyball coach, Lindsay Wilbur, and things felt like they were finally falling into place. She immediately made me feel welcome, and I felt a connection to her as we both stepped into new territory, her first collegiate coaching position, and my first time playing in an elementary school gym on tile floor. Humble new beginnings. That first off-season was a season of challenges, to say the least, but it was a very necessary part of the process. I was able to get back into shape, play like I had something to prove, and walk back into a sport, but this time on my own terms. I was about 2 years older than my roommates and went from living in a house on my own to bunk beds in Allen Hall, practically volunteering myself into sibling torture as Nick became my strength and conditioning coach, running in carpeted hallways because that was the only space we had, and playing in a gym with no air conditioning and little to no bleachers, but this is not one of those back in my day stories. I share this because sometimes progress in life actually looks like taking 5 steps back. I had missed those steps and what I still needed to learn along the way. I'll save the details on what happened from there because they are how I'm standing here in front of you today. But at DWU, I evolved into someone who trusted the process as long as I was taking steps that aligned with my values. I became someone that worked hard out of discipline, not motivation. I started to develop the ability to trust. I learned about limiting beliefs and that I wasn't stupid or a bad student. And I finally understood the value in education and becoming a lifelong learner. It's a privilege and an honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at DWU for volleyball, next to a list of names I'm confident will continue to grow as Coach Wilbur has turned the program around and made a name for Tiger volleyball. Thank you to everyone who has supported me along this journey, especially my family, my coach, my teammates, and my friends. Bleed blue.
Congrats once again, Lauren, and thank you, Coach Wilbur. Our next inductee is Dylan Turner. Dylan Turner, a 2018 graduate, was a 4-year starter, All-American, and 2-time GPAC Player of the Year. Turner is DW's all-time career passing and touchdown leader with 10,700 yards and 151 touchdowns. He also holds the single-season record for yards and touchdowns with 3,400 yards and 48 touchdowns, respectively. Turner was a dual-threat quarterback who also wreaked havoc on the ground as he ended his career third all-time in career rushing with 3,215 yards. Turner was also a frequent recipient of many GPAC and NAI Player of the Week honors. Upon graduation, Turner played professionally in the Indoor Football League, where he was a staple for multiple organizations, including the Sioux Falls Storm. He currently resides in Pierce, South Dakota, with his wife, Brett, and works as a biotechnician. Please direct your attention to the screens. Please help me welcome to the stage Dylan Turner and his presenter, Austin Bizey.
All right, so I'm actually pretty nervous for this. I actually had the honor to do Dylan and Brett's wedding in May, and I'm a lot more nervous now than I was for that. So, but I'm gonna go off the cuffs here. So, the first time I met Dylan Turner, It was the summer of 2014. We came for a summer workout, and I'm walking up to Smith Hall, and I see a big, burly guy. And the first thing he says, "Hi, I'm Dylan Turner," with the strongest Southern accent as you could hear, and I could barely understand him. And we went to the depot that night and still couldn't understand him because of his deep Southern accent. But ever since that day, we've been friends ever since, and his Southern accent has definitely gone down. He's got more of a Midwestern accent. So, but everyone knows, how good he was with his arm, with his legs. People probably don't know just how good of a leader and how good of a guy he was. He was a leader with, on the field and off the field for us. He made the plays when we needed to, but, one of the nicest guys we've ever met. When we had transfers coming in or incoming freshmen, he'd be the first guy to greet them and make them feel welcome here at DWU, and people probably don't know that. And I know just how bad, how bad he wanted to get this team to the playoffs. That was always our biggest goal, and I know how hard he worked. He was one of the hardest workers on our team, and it was just a real honor to be a part of a small part. I was the backup quarterback. I gave him signals the whole time, so I'd like to say that I contributed to a lot of his touchdowns and all that. He had to get the play right for me. No, but he was a great player and even a better guy, and I'm just honored to be a part of this and honored to be your friend. So without further ado, one of the newest members of the DWU Hall of Fame, Dylan Turner.
Thanks, Vice, and congratulations to all the other inductees tonight. There's so many people to thank and so many things I want to say, but I'm not really sure where to start. But I thought I would just start from the beginning. I remember my senior year of high school sitting on the couch one day before school, and me and my dad were watching the weather. And the weatherman says, -20 in the Dakotas. I look straight at my dad, and I say, who in their right mind would want to live there? 3 months later, I signed my letter of intent to play for DWU. And that picture in the plaid was a blizzard. I still don't understand it. I came to Mitchell in July of 2014, and from that moment forward, I have no regrets from my 4 years here at DWU. My freshman year, I did not start the first half of my first college game, but I came in at halftime, and I led our team to a victory by this playing. Not many people know that I threw more interceptions and touchdowns my freshman year of college. I'm very thankful for Coach Semple that he didn't give up on me that year, and I apologize to all the guys on that team. The game was moving pretty fast. I also played my first ever game in the snow, and it was a full-blown blizzard. I came to DWU from Arkansas in a full Southern accent, just like Vicey said. But after a year of hanging out with South Dakotans, Minnesotans, and Canadians, I'd pretty much lost all my Southern accent. Fast forward to the next year, and the game had slowed down significantly, and I had actually looked like a college quarterback and found a little success. I also lived with a great group of guys in Allen Hall. One of my favorite memories from that year, Vicey was taking a shower, and we all got the decision to throw a firecracker in there with him. We threw that firecracker in the shower, and he comes running out. He's butt naked. Feet are just moving so fast, he just flops on the floor. Bang! We hear the firecracker. Room and board can't find us now. We're already graduated. My junior and senior year were by far the funnest years of college. I lived in a house called the Grandy House. There was 10 guys living in a house with two bathrooms, a carpet kitchen, and a bunch of football players that didn't like to clean. Kind of disgusting when you think about it. But we spent all of our time together, and I am forever thankful for those guys and the friendships we made during those years. Many stories and moments that are appropriate and inappropriate for this setting. My junior and senior year of football wasn't easy, but it was more enjoyable to play because it actually make smart decisions and learn how to read a defense. I was fortunate enough to win GPAC Player of the Year 2 years in a row, and many other awards came with that. There are many people to thank, but I'm going to go over some that have influenced me the most, and I'm sorry for the others that I won't mention. First, I want to thank my family, my mom, Jamie, for driving me all over the country to visit schools and to go to campuses to showcase my abilities. My dad, Matt, for always pushing me to be a better player in person. My brother, Jordan, for supporting me and being my best friend, even when I was 13 hours away from home. My granny, Marcy, for coming to every game and being the loudest voice in the stadium. One time she was yelling at a game, and the coach looked at us in the huddle and said, "Man, I wish that lady would stop yelling." I looked at Coach and said, "That's my grandma, Coach." He didn't say another word after that. I'm so very thankful for my family. My brother would play high school football games on Friday night. They would drive all the way to Mitchell, all through the night, get here just in time for kickoff, watch the game. We would eat supper, and they'd leave on Sunday morning. And they do it every week, no matter where the game was, in Mitchell or in Nebraska or wherever. I can never repay you or tell you how thankful I am for doing that for me. I also want to thank my wife, Brett. We may have not known each other in college, but technically DWU has brought us together. And I'm very thankful for her supporting me and listening to all the DWU stories and memories that we all tell. I would like to thank my host parents that made me feel at home during my time in Mitchell. Randy Sprung, the loving Miss Pam, Dan and Diane Dolores, Ryan and Nam Temple. Sprung and Miss Pam would have me and some other guys over for supper every week. We always sat around a dinner table and shared stories and memories. Miss Pam's raspberry cream pie was just so dang good. It felt like a home and a family atmosphere. It really helped me get through the week, and it was nice to have someone that was always looking out for you. Dan and Diane, Brian and Ann, technically you weren't my host family, but y'all took me in every time the other guys would come over, and throughout the years you made me like family, and I'm really appreciative. I'd like to thank my coaches and teammates through the years, Coach Glasgow that recruited me to DWU, and Coach Semple for trusting me to be the team's QB. I'm sure there's many times you ask yourself, what am I doing? But you believed in me, and I appreciate that. To Coach Burrish, who's my QB coach and a great mentor for me, I have to say thank you to all the offensive linemen who blocked for me. It always starts with the big men up front, and all the wide receivers and running backs who caught touchdown passes from me. Special shout out to Hayden Adams, who just made me look good on times where I'd make mistakes or bad throws. The guy and I had a special connection on the football field. I want to say thank you to the faculty here at DWU, Dr. Brian Patrick, who is my academic mentor and my professor for most of my classes. He put up with a lot of my crap that was off the field. One time he wrote, "More studying, less hunting," after a test that I made a 57% on. There are many other professors that are super influential in my life, and I am thankful for all of them. Lastly, I'd like to thank all my friends I made here at DWU. Special shout out to the guys who lived in the Grandy with me. We spent so many hours together and we never got sick of each other. Y'all are lifelong friends. You guys made college the best experience and made it so much more enjoyable. I can't wait for many more memories as we all grow old and start families. People ask me all the time how I ended up at DWU, and I always say football got me here, but the people kept me here. I never thought I'd end up in Mitchell, but when I arrived here, the people were so awesome and influential that I couldn't leave. When people ask if I miss football, I always tell them yes and no. I've played football since the second grade, and football is fun. There's nothing like scoring touchdowns and outsmarting a defense, and on 3rd and 12, running over a linebacker for 15 yards and just watching the defensive coordinator throw his headset. But I say I don't miss football because I left it all on the field. I played my hardest every game, and I prepared the best I could. Is there always more you could do? Yes. But I have no regrets from any of my playing days, and for that, I do not miss football. Even though the 10,704 passing yards, 115 touchdowns, 3,200 rushing yards, and 36 more touchdowns, just a humble brag, may have got me to this point today, I hope I am remembered as a good leader, a great teammate, and a great person that everyone I talk to. Thank you, and God bless.
Congrats again, Dylan, and thank you, Austin. Our next inductee is Kurt Hart. Kurt Hart served as athletic director for Dakota Wesleyan from 2008 to 2016, where he oversaw 10 GPAC team titles, 39 NAI All-Americans, 202 Scholar Athletes, and hundreds of all GPAC honorees during his tenure. He helped Tiger Athletics become a staple member of the GPAC landscape. Kurt was the driving force for helping revamp the DWU Teammakers Booster Club and the DWU Corporate Partner and Community Partnerships. He also played a key role in securing major gifts for the completion of the DWU Avera Sports and Wellness Complex that was completed during his final year as AD in 2016. In that same year, Kurt was also recognized as the 2016 GPAC AD of the Year. Approximately 50 years of Kurt's life has been dedicated to education and athletics in the state of South Dakota. He has served countless boards, schools, programs across the state. He currently resides in Alexandria, South Dakota with his wife Kelly and has 2 adult children, although he doesn't claim me very often, and 3 grandchildren. Please direct your attention to the screens. Please help me welcome to the stage Kurt Hart and a couple coaches that are going to help me present. Now, I've kind of been tasked to waterfall this group of coaches who wanted to share a few words, so I'm going to try to keep this short because we might get a little bit repetitive, but we'll get through it. I could stand up here and talk about my dad for a long time, and I think a lot of these coaches could say the same, but my ultimate message is really just a message of congratulations and to thank you. My dad came to campus my sophomore year of football. He was on about his 3rd retirement at that time. If there's a message to take away from this too, do not take retirement advice from Kurt Hart. So like I said, during my sophomore year, he started working on campus in somewhat informal fashion, working in advancement and athletics, helping with some fundraising items. But long story short, he became the athletic director here. And at that time, I was pretty uncertain of what I wanted to do, being a sports management major at that time. But after seeing my dad operate on a daily basis, my career path became very clear. You know, earlier this week, Dr. Kittle talked a little bit about influences and self-reflection for how you find your calling, your purpose, and what has helped shape you. And when I reflect on that, when I do often, I point to my dad and my mom. I often see the world through a lens based on how I was raised and the environment I was surrounded in. And with their help and guidance, that lens was constantly bright and clear. Dad, I want to thank you for how you've helped me grow personally and professionally. Now, working together for a handful of years wasn't always easy, but we got through it, and we didn't see eye to eye on things all the time. But when I look back, we did some pretty great things together, and we had a lot of full circle moments in which a lot of fathers and sons don't get. You'll be my mentor for a lifetime, and I'm so thankful that I get to share you with my wife and kids, my sister, and countless others you've helped along the way. I know in the grand scheme, your time at DWU took up a small fraction of your life, but I know it's been one of the most rewarding times. You got a front row seat to watching me, Amanda, and many coaches and students who you considered to be your own kids grow and reach their goals. You went above and beyond for DWU, and this honor encompasses that and more. Congrats on this well-deserved honor, and welcome to the DWU Hall of Fame, Dad. We love you.
I get to go first with these coaches all the time. They're like, that's all we talked about. They're like, who's going second, third, and fourth? It was obvious I was going first. And I'm looking at everybody's got something written out here. I thought this was supposed to be a 30-second deal. So first of all, what a great class, the Hall of Fame. You know when you've been here a while, when you had a front row seat to watching everybody from Lauren to the national championship run. Dylan Turner, one of the best quarterbacks in the NAIA, and then there's you, Gullidge. My front row seat with Gullidge was me as a pitcher and him as a hitter. That's how I got introduced to Thomas Gullidge, and there wasn't a number my catcher could put in his crotch that worked. So that was always a tough one. So getting here with this is an easy one to talk about. Kurt, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he is. I mean, anybody that knows him. There's not enough things I could say about him as a person, as a mentor. He's fiercely loyal. He's unconditionally supportive through the good and the bad. He's one of those guys that would sit you down and tell you how great you did, and then when you weren't doing great, he'd be like, I think you can do a little better. And you always took everything he said. The best thing I could say about him, he was always right. He just always was right, and we're just really lucky to have him at DWU for the time. On the personal side of things, coming off of that Corn Palace court after a huge win, he was always the first one there to shake your hand. He's always the first one right there to shake your hand, and what a cool thing to be there. And we've had some great wins. The other thing that he was great at, we'd play maybe a rival. It might have been from Iowa, I don't know. But we say we beat them. There's a certain school that would always have, after we'd beat them, there'd just be a host of complaints about the Corn Palace and everything going on. And there was a line waiting for Kurt, and I would sometimes be out there and listening to him. It was tremendous. People would come up, and he would sit there and talk to them, and he'd get done, and he goes, you know what I do after losses? He goes, I get in my car and I go the hell home. That's what I do. I could hear him say this because I might be talking to my dad or something right behind him, and then the next person get up and give him the same host of complaints. He goes, you know what I do after a loss? I get in my car and I go the hell home. And I'd sit there and be, Dad, you got to check this out. This is great stuff. But on a personal note, I think all four of us coaches up here that are going to have a chance to speak a little bit. Kurt hired me. He brought me over here when it probably wasn't a tremendously popular choice at the time. He took a chance on me. And I think with athletic directors, you see the athletes, you see the coaches out front, and you see all these things going on, but all these things that are happening are because of them. And because of him, so many things have happened at DWU because of him, you know, and it's just one of those great things, and I'll always be grateful for it. Also because of him, I get to work next to my wife like every day, about 15 feet away. So she's gonna go next, but Kurt, I love you, and I appreciate everything you did. Thanks a lot.
It's just really special to stand here today, Kurt, to help honor you. I just want to say thank you. Because 10 years ago, you took a big chance on me, hiring me as a coach when I really didn't know what I was doing. But I was taking over a program that had a rough go of it, but you kept just, convincing me that I could do this, and you believed in me. You always were so encouraging to me. During those rough times, you always were there, or the next day after a tough loss, you were always there just saying, keep at it, keep at it. Even now, last year when our, great run and stuff, texting and, giving me congrats and stuff. So that's the biggest thing, is standing here today, honoring you, and just saying thank you for believing me 10 years ago. And I can't believe it's been 10 years.
Sorry if my voice is gone. Kids were acting up today. But I do want to say thanks. We talk about it with our players all the time. We've had 3 out of our first 4 games at home, and I can say with 100% certainty there's nobody in our conference that can hold a candle to the support that we get, and that's a genuine thing. And I genuinely mean that, and we talk about it all the time. I don't know how many people were there today, but there was a whole bunch of you, and we appreciate it a lot. And that's one thing, kind of leads into what I would say, about Kurt. I've been really fortunate. I've been here since 2010, and there's been some tremendous people in my experience here. And no offense to Thomas's in-laws, but mine are pretty good too. They're also in the Hall of Fame, so I don't know if that means they're better or not. We don't need to hash it out now, but there's been some tremendous people. I got to coach Dylan Turner, the best football player I've ever been a part of, and I don't tell Brady that, okay, because he'll be upset. I got to watch Lauren. I got to watch the national championship game in person, and just some unbelievable people. And right at the top of that list is Kurt Hart. And when you talk about Kurt Hart, I'm just going to describe my experience with Kurt. The head coaching job was open. I was 27 years old, and there's probably 150 reasons why he shouldn't hire me. And I don't know what the reason was that he did. I honestly don't, but he did, and I'm very, very thankful for that. But the one story that I want to tell about Kurt that I think just talks about who he is and what he means to me. It was 2020. COVID was a thing, still a thing actually. But we had a little bit of a stretch of bad luck going and not some tremendous seasons. And we had to go down to Doane, and arguably one of the hardest places to play football-wise, and it was a tough season. And I look on the sideline, and there's Kurt Hart. He drove to Crete, Nebraska, just because he thought it would mean a lot if he was there. And there was no reason for him to drive down there. There's no reason for him to be there. And he was. And we ended up winning that game, 23-19, which I was actually a little upset when he was there because he was usually pretty bad luck. And we've actually talked about that. But it meant the world to me. And again, just like everybody else has mentioned, the first person to talk to me after the game was Kurt Hart. And I don't know if he drove back by himself. I have no idea what he did. But there was no reason for him to be there. But that's the type of person he was. He knew it would mean a lot to me. He knew it would mean a lot to our team. And he was there. And that's Kurt Hart. So nobody more deserving. unbelievably thankful for the opportunity and the chance that he took on a 27-year-old kid that probably didn't deserve to be a head coach, and appreciate everything he done for me. Thanks, Kurt.
All righty here. You guys are probably sitting here wondering what the heck Kurt was doing hiring us four chuckleheads right now, huh? I'm going to start off with a story that actually just popped in my head. I always write these things down and I never even follow them, but I got to do it just to keep my wife happy, because I had a few things written down on the bar napkin at the scoreboard today, and she says, "You're not taking that in there." So here's my fake script, Michelle. I remember when I went into Kurt's office one time and I said, "Hey, I want to kind of start developing some theme nights for our basketball, you know, when we were playing at the Corn Palace and getting student body there and this and that." He goes, "Yeah, go ahead." So I called Ross and I said, "Ross, we're playing Northwestern. Both the men are rated, the women are rated. You know, I would like you to come up with something." And Ross, of course, he did. Comes up with a Hawaiian theme. So we have a Hawaiian theme that night. This is real early in Kurt's career, too. And long story short, we ended up beating Northwestern. Both the men and the women did. But during the game, the offensive linemen had coconut bras and Speedos on, and they dropped a coat while they were shooting free throws. Okay, and we're playing Northwestern. I think Wilbur touched on the Iowa school. And long story short, Kurt comes in my office the next day and he goes, "Jason," he goes, "I really loved it. It was a great atmosphere, great 2 wins, but we are not going to have Hawaiian night anymore when we play Northwestern. Pick a different team to do that." Of course, me being the smart aleck I am, I said to him, I go, "So can we have beach night next time?" So they all touched on this, but I want to talk about a couple things. Kurt's always been there for the student athlete, and a lot of times it's behind the scene. I remember one time we got off the bus and we had a men's coach. This isn't Matt either. We had a men's coach that was real frugal with his money. Matt blows money. I mean, like he loves. I mean, you want to play for Matt Wilbur, you're gonna have 7 uniforms. You're gonna get anything you want. But anyway, we had a men's coach that was pretty frugal with his money. And anyway, we were getting off the bus, and Mike Lee, Cardi Pennington was walking with Kurt and I, and we were going in to eat. And they're like, "Kurt, why can't we get dreads like the women? Why can't we get this?" A couple of days later, Kurt comes in my office and says, "Hey, where did you get some of this stuff, this and that?" And a couple of weeks later, the men have different things, you know. And he always found ways to support our student athletes, and a lot of times, a lot of people don't know this, it was his own money. You know, Kurt, and I'll be honest, I did take advantage of you a few times because he traveled with us, because I coached Amanda, and Kurt traveled with the men's and women's program a lot, and I forgot my school card all the time because I knew Kurt would pick the tab up. So, John, Amanda, if your inheritance is a little bit lighter, it's probably my fault. Like I said, when I think of Kurt, you've always been a behind-the-scenes guy. When I went through a battle of cancer in 2018, he was the first one to text me. "How you doing? You're going to get through this." After surgery, he was the first one to text my wife, asking my wife, you know, how things are going and this and that. I remember when my daughter had her appendix out, before it was an emergency surgery. The day before that, Kurt was telling me how busy he was. The next day, the things that he had to do, he had to get here. I remember sitting in the hospital getting a text from Kurt, "How is Caitlin doing?" I mean, he always found ways for our families. I know he's done that with Ross's family and Matt's family and Lindsay's family. He cares about people. He's always there for people. You know, he's just a good guy. I said here in the last line, I said, everybody out there probably has their Mount Rushmore mentors. I myself have a Mount Rushmore of mentors, and Kurt is on that. Kurt, I want to thank you for taking the chance on me when no one else would. I want to thank you for being my boss and all the support you've given me and my family. Love you, Kurt. That's yours.
Well, after that, I should just sit down. We took up a lot of time, and I prepared something, and I mean, those coaches mean so much to me. So thanks, you guys. It is for sure an honor and a humbling experience to be inducted to the DWU Hall of Fame. I want to thank President Dan Kittle, who's doing such a great job at Dakota Wesleyan, and Athletic Director John Hart. All of this credit for this honor should go to those 5 people behind me tonight that were up in front here. Lindsay Wilbur, in her 9th season, has totally rewrote the record books for DW Volleyball, named 2022 College Coach of the Year by South Dakota Sports Writers. Thanks, Lindsay. Coach Matt Wilbur, in his 10th season, no one who follows DW men's basketball will forget the national tournament run in Branson, Missouri. Also that year, he was named National Coach of the Year. Thanks, Matt. Coach Ross Simple, in his 12th season. You know, I don't think you could find a hard worker person in any coach or any line of work who works harder than Ross Simple. His team is his family. Thanks, Ross. Coach Jason Christensen, in his 13th season. What can you say? A national champion, winningest coach in women's basketball history at DWU, and Natural Coach of the Year. Thanks, Jason. John Hart, in his 8th year as AD, you could say it was his 11th year because he did most of my work the last 4 years. I was at DWU. I took the credit when everything went well, and he took the blame when it didn't. So thanks, John. These 5 people were my core group. In 5 years as AD, I had a complete change in coaching staff. That part of the job was never easy. We lost great coaches along the way too, John Hemingway and Shane Murphy and Brad Pohl and Clay Glasgow and Ed Keith, and that just names just a few. I would like to congratulate other inductees tonight. Tom was the only one that I wasn't here for, but I followed Tom's career and knowing the Merrick and the Christfelt family too. Dylan Turner, I saw Dylan play his first game and his last game. A special athlete. One of the best ever quarterbacks at DWU and probably in South Dakota. Lauren Tadlock, such a dominant player, strong, and a real treat to watch. The 2018 women's basketball team. So many great memories of this run in Sioux City. We all know it would probably come down to playing Concordia in the finals in the championship game, and it did, and we destroyed them. I wanted to explain, and I wouldn't have done this if I knew I was going to take this much time, John, so I'm sorry, but I wanted to explain how I ended up at DWU. Very unusual reason. After 10 years as coach and AD at Hanson High School, and 26 years at Security State Bank with the Aaron family, great friends. And technically, I'm not sure I'm even eligible for this honor. So after this disclosure, President Kittle and John, you can probably take this away from me, but you can't take away tonight. I never applied for this position. I never interviewed for this position. I never accepted this position. And I was never paid enough for this position. It all started in the summer of 2008. John, like you said, was on the football team, and Brad Pohl come to me and asked me to help him with football fundraising. We did very well, and that caught the attention of President Robert Duffett, Development Vice President Neil Blair, and the current AD. A few weeks later, Neil Blair met with me in the bank, and he asked me if I would be interested in a part-time development job in athletic fundraising. I said, Neil, I have enough on my plate. Absolutely not. A few days later, I was asked to visit with President Robert Duffett, and he asked me the same question. I said, I'm honored, Bob, but no, I'm not going to do that. A few days later, Amy Novak, who was the new provost at DWU, and Amy asked me, and Amy was very persuasive, and she asked me if I would just try it for a while. I agreed to help. A couple months later, all of a sudden the AD was gone. I don't know if it was because of any of you in here, but he was gone. I think some people in this room know why. The whole thing started over. All 3 asked me to apply, and I did not apply, and I would not apply. But I told them I would help with the AD search. The search for a new AD began, and more than 150 applicants for the job. After 3 or 4 months, no one was hired. The 3 came to me again, and the answer was still no. Then I met with Amy Novak again, and she said, okay, Kurt, what are we going to do? She said, I don't want to start this process over again. Would you agree to be the interim AD for just a while until we find someone else? And I was wearing down. And I told her I needed a week to think about it and talk to people in Mitchell and talk to my family. In the next few days, I called Roger Music, who was a good friend and longtime supporter of DWU, Tim Smith, an old and good friend, the voice of the Tigers, and somebody I had a ton of respect for, Jim Beto, the former DWU president, Gordy Fosness, who I talked to every week, and George McGovern, who I had lunch with every week, and Gary Munson, who I knew since he was the coach at Marion High School, and Larry Luchins, longtime friend and coach at DeSmit and Custer, Wayne Carney, president of the Activities Association, Willie Sanchez, who at that time was AD at USF, and of course my good friend Lucio Margello. I couldn't not take this job without talking to him. And Bob Siebert. Bob was the former Team Makers president, and he had quit because of the turmoil that we were having. And I tried to talk to Bob and see if he would come back, if I would come back. All of them were pretty supportive of the interim position, as I did, if I did take that instead of taking the AD job. But the guy I called last was Don Blumenberg. And Don had a pretty creative vocabulary, to say the least, and you could, I can't share hardly any of what Don told me when he called me, but I'll give you a little bit of it. Don's first question was, Kurt, how old are you now? And I said, 60. And there was a long pause on the phone, and he had this booming voice like Gordy Fosness. And he said, are you bleeping crazy? And then he said, Team Makers is in the toilet. Athletics has had a lot of problems. Community relations in Mitchell are terrible. And there have been 5 or 6 ADs in the last 7 years. And he said, why would you want that at your age? So I thought about that a while, but that next Wednesday, my week was up. The following Wednesday afternoon, Bob called me and asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was down working at the Corn Palace with Mark Schilling, trying to fix a speaker system, getting ready for a doubleheader that we had that night. And President Duffett's next question was, would you take the AD job as an interim until we find someone else? And I said, Bob, if you're going to do this to me, you got to tell me that you're going to find somebody else, you're going to work real hard, and you guys are going to find somebody else, and I'll take it till that happens. I agreed to it. But I said one thing that we need to do. We need to keep this low-key for a while, nothing posted, nothing on the radio or in the paper, or nothing on a college release. Well, if you knew Bob, he was a great president. He was a good speaker. He was a minister. He was one of those guys that, you know, you had to love Bob, but he wasn't a listener at all. He just listened. That night, he had Clint Greenway announced that I was the interim AD at the basketball game. So you can imagine how I felt. People that I want to thank that were part of this journey with me, Lucio and Claudette Margello, who I mentioned before, they were at Kelly and I's wedding 36 years ago. I've known them for over 40 years. No one is better for DWU than Lucio. Jerry Miller and Brenda, they were always great supporters of mine and my family. I appreciate their friendship. Bob Siebert, he came back and was president of Team Makers, and he still is with John, so I appreciate Bob a lot. Administrators I worked closely with at that time were, of course, Robert and Amy and Neil, Teresa Creasy, Kitty Allen, Lori Essig, Jory Hansen, and a special shout out to Marlene Warnke, who worked with me every day for 13 years and helped me through a lot of stuff, especially on the computer. And my family that is here, and I'd like them to have them stand. Randy and Mary Doyle, if you'd please stand. Sean and Cindy Doyle, Chris and Michelle Doyle, and their daughter Ava. good friends from Security State Bank who are like my family, Kelly and Dee Dee Arend. My daughter, Amanda Hart, would you please stand, Amanda? Amanda is a Hall of Fame inductee in 2019 and head of basketball operations at the University of Nebraska. John and Danny Hart. Danny, would you please stand? And of course, my grandkids who aren't here, but Harper, Henley, and Hawkins. Most of all, I want to thank my wife, Kelly. Kelly, when I quit at the bank, she always wanted to go south for the winter. And I promised her I would do that, and we did do that. I kept that promise. For 13 years, we went to Crete and Seward and Hastings and Yankton. So I'm glad I was able to keep that promise. Thank you, Kelly. Although officially never being the AD at DWU, the 13 years I spent here ended up being the most rewarding years of my life. Thank you.
Congrats, Dad. Thank you, coaches. Our final induction of the night belongs to the 2018 National Champion DWU Women's Basketball Team. Fittingly, this is the first team to be inducted into the DWU Athletics Hall of Fame in its 40-plus years of existence. The 2018 Women's Basketball Team compiled season records of 32-6 overall, 12-1 at home, 14-4 on the road, and 8-1 at neutral sites. They averaged 80.4 points per game and shot 48% from the floor and 38% beyond the arc. From January 17th of that year to February 17th, this team went on a 9-game winning streak to capture the national championship trophy. They defeated their opponents in the national tournament by an average margin of victory of 17 points, winning the championship game by 23. This team was led by the 2018 National Coach of the Year in Jason Christensen, amazing assistants in Celeste Beck, Jane Stewart, a tremendous support staff such as Randy Christensen in athletic training, numerous All-Americans, all-conference players, but most of all, a great group of people and a great group of families. This group defined a team and achieved the ultimate goal. Please direct your attention to the screens. Please help me welcome to the stage the 2018 women's basketball team and their presenter, Tim Smith.
Well, I'm really going to keep this short. I didn't know they were all going to stand here while I was talking, so I'll apologize already, ladies. While they're making their way up here, I'd like to just quickly, I know it's been a long night, but quickly congratulate everybody. Kurt Hart, you know, you're a smart guy. I know you're a smart guy. People don't realize what a mess the athletic department was in here at Dakota Wesleyan when this guy took over. It would not be where it is today at all without Kurt Hart. But then I see 4 coaches come up here, and they all said the same thing. They have no idea why you hired them. So I'm wondering if you knew at all what the hell you were doing at the time. But it turned out pretty good. The other thing is, I see that picture of you up there with all those fancy cars. They must have been paying you damn well. Pretty sweet. Thomas Gullidge, I had a chance to do play-by-play at the state amateur tournament with Thomas here the other day. It was great. Great player, obviously. Nice pipes, Thomas. That was great. And he knows the game inside out. I think he's got a play-by-play career in front of him. Dylan Turner, the Southern gunslinger. There he is, the Patrick Mahomes of the GPAC conference. What a great guy to watch. No kidding. Run, pass. Thanks for all the memories, Dylan. Austin Bicey. Okay, I've got to do this. Austin Bicey. Now, Dylan Turner got all the publicity. Bicey's his backup. All he did was the signals. But Austin Bicey is the guy. He is the guy. The College Baseball World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. Holding a beer in one hand, a home run to the left field bleachers, clean catch in the left hand, and then in front of God and everyone, chugs the beer down. You're the man, Bicey. You're the man. And Lauren, I hope you are taking some pleasure in what this volleyball team is accomplishing now, because you're a big reason they're where they're at. All right, I've got some notes too, and I've got to do that because otherwise I start telling stories and I'll be up here all night long. First, you know, I should let you know that when I refer to these players, it's going to be by their old names. I know some of them are married, but I'm old school, and so that's the way it's going to be, and I apologize to you right now. But Jason Christensen asked me to do this, and I thought this is going to be great because I have so many great memories. And then I started thinking, how do you introduce a whole team? It's easier when you're introducing one person, certainly. So I thought about this for a while. There have been a lot of great teams in Dakota Wesleyan history. I mean, I've been around for that long, and I've seen a lot of great teams. Why one national championship that stands above all the others? So I kind of went back, and I've read a book by Coach K. I'm kind of a Coach K guy, the old Duke coach, called Leading with the Heart. And I came up with 4 T's that equate to a championship team, and I think they fit this team so perfectly that that's the way I'd like to introduce them tonight. Those 4 T's are talent, teamwork, toughness, and togetherness. Now, certainly, this team had a lot of talent. No coach can win without talent. We know that. Let's take Kennedy Cheeseman, most valuable player of the national tournament. First team All-American, leading scorer on the team. And, of course, in big moments, as you all saw, the players the Tigers really look to for the big shot all the time. Let's add the Bray twins, Amber and Ashley, the pride of Anoka, Minnesota. And perhaps, you know, when you think about it, they were the real X factor, the unknown factor when they came to South Dakota. But boy, by their junior and senior years, and especially this championship year, everybody knew who they were. I mean, it's amazing. Ashley, first team All-American. Amber, honorable mention All-American. Both first team All-Conference players. Really an unstoppable pair of players when you think about it. 6 feet. You post them up, they muscle you, they take it to the basket. You put a big girl on them, they step outside, and they drain the threes. And amazing at it as well. I looked at those stats, and I had to look at them again for the 2018 season. Ashley shoots 48% for the year from the three-point line, only to be outdone by Amber, who shoots 49% for the year. Nobody does that. Nobody shoots 49%, but she did. And at the same time, led the team in rebounding, they did, and they were number 2 and number 3 on the team in scoring. I got to tell you a quick story about the Braves. First time I saw them, of course, I couldn't tell one from another. Sometimes I still can't. I'm getting better at that. But I thought, as a play-by-play guy, this is trouble. This is going to be difficult. You can't always see the numbers at all times. You know, they're working underneath the basket. You can't. But there's always some identifying factor, and usually with the ladies, it's the hair. You know, you can pick them out. So the first game, they come out, and they're wearing exactly 2 pigtails down the side, exactly the same, and I knew I was in trouble that night trying to do play-by-play. I remember going to one of them, and I don't know which one it was, but I went to one of them afterwards. I said, listen, girls, I'll give you $20 if you just do something a little bit different with your hair so I can tell you apart on the floor. Well, they never collected their $20, but they did start doing that, and I got to thank you. Thank you for that. Helped my career quite a bit. Let's go on to the second T, toughness. Maybe one of the most important. Nobody on this team backed down from anybody. And Jason, I think, will back me up on that. But 2 of them really kind of stand out for me. Sarah Carr. Sarah, I got to tell you that I called a Mitchell game with Huron, when you were playing with Huron, at the Corn Palace. And to be honest, your Huron team really sucked. I mean, they did not have much talent on that team. But I watched Sarah Carr push and shove the Mitchell players around all night long. And the more they tried to be physical with her, the tougher she got. And that stayed true throughout her Wesleyan career. I don't know if Jason will remember this. This is honestly true. But I texted him that Friday night after that high school game. And I asked him, are you recruiting Sarah Carr? His answer was, well, I think she and Kennedy are really good friends, and I think if I get one of them, I'll get the other one. And my response was, you better try harder. Because I said, I'd take her in a bar fight with me anytime. Well, you did good, Jason. You did good. And then there's Riley Ostis. First team All-GPAC, Defensive Player of the Year, top 10 in the nation in assists. And of course, I'm kind of partial to point guards anyway, because I don't think you can have a championship team or even a really great team if you don't have a good point guard to start with. But her best attribute to me was her toughness. Coach Bob Sprang and I, Robert, we just kind of wait every game until somebody tried to set a hard pick on Riley, maybe at half court, or throw an elbow, try and knock her down to the floor. We'd both just kind of look at each other and smile at the time because we knew, look out, they just turned on Riley's switch and they're going to pay for it. And they did. Now, third, there's teamwork. You can have all the talent, but if each player doesn't accept a role on the team can't be great. Jessica Miras, off the bench, always solid. She played in all 38 games during that 2018 season. Chesney Nagel, hey, it wasn't that she couldn't score. She showed us that in the national championship game. She could score, but she didn't need to score. Her role was shutting down the top player on the other team every night, and man, she was good at it. As an example, people recognized it. She only averaged, I didn't realize this till I looked at stats, she only averaged 3.5 points per game in that 2018 season, but she was named All-GPAC Performer, honorable mention for that. Maddie Matthews, all she did was make big three-point shots at big moments in games. And Michaela Karst, solid in every game of the season. I think she played in all but 2 when she was a little bit injured. That's another conversation I had with Jason. I watched Michaela play for Mount Vernon Plankinton in high school. Some of you recall they had a big 6'3" center at Mount Vernon Plank. She was recruited to South Dakota State University to play. And of course, you're playing Class B basketball, you got a 6'3" center, you know where the ball's going. You pass the ball inside and let her take over. However, she had to take a rest about every 4 minutes because she couldn't go any longer than that. And you could see at that point, when Michaela was on the floor, If she was on any other team, she'd be scoring 20 points a game, no question. Jason saw that too, and she brought that with her to Dakota Wesleyan as well. Megan Travis, Michaela Stoffren, Sam Shue, all part of the teamwork on this championship team. And then finally, we go to the final T, and that is togetherness. There were no prima donnas on this basketball team. The leading individual scorer, and that was Kennedy, averaged 15 points a game. This is a team that averaged over 80 points a game, and your leader averages 15. No one was worried about individual stats. Also, teams that are not together, they don't play defense. Well, this team played defense, no question about it. 59 points a game, one of the tops in the nation is what they gave up. And if you recall in that national tournament, in all 5 games, the Tigers held their opponents to 15 points or more below their regular season scoring average. But togetherness, there's more than that, than just what was on the court for this group. I'm not real savvy on my phone, but I do see Facebook, and I see photos of these ladies. They're standing up as attendants at each other's weddings. They're going on trips together. They're going to concerts together. This is a team that was truly together, not only as players, but as friends. And after getting together with them last night for just a little bit, they still are. They still are friends. And then finally, I'll conclude with the 2 people at the top. I hope it stays a secret, but she is the best assistant coach in the country. I hope it stays a secret because I'd like her to stay here for a while longer. Of course, I'm talking about Celeste Beck. And then head coach Jason Christensen. The team just followed his passion, his fire to win that national title. And I know it was even more special for Jason to beat, as Kurt says, those Concordia Lady Bulldogs for the title, because it seems like every time we went down to Seward, Nebraska, I'd be interviewing Jason before the game. We'd be sitting on the bleachers, and I can hear him saying, and I can't quote exactly because this is a church school, but basically, I hate this place. I hate this team. I don't like their coach very much either, and I'd like to kick their you-know-what. And as Jason likes to say, he hates losing more than he likes winning, and it showed on this team. And if you remember, Concordia beat Dakota Wesleyan 3 times in 2018, but not the 4th time on that most important Tuesday night down in Sioux City. The Lady Tigers shocked them, jumping out to a 40-19 halftime lead, and of course went away to win it 82-59 to complete a 32-6 season. Amazing, so many memories. Ladies, in my lapel, piece of the net from the championship game that I will cherish forever. And I thank you very much for all those memories indeed. Tiger fans, please welcome the 2018 National Coach of the Year, Jason Christensen, and the national champion, Lady Tigers, to the Dakota Wesleyan Hall of Fame.
Good evening. First off, we just want to say congratulations to the other inductees. Personally, we know all of you, and it's amazing to be part of this class with you guys. So when Coach and Celeste volunteered us to speak tonight, they told us to only talk about the good things that happened during that championship season. So
we probably shouldn't mention how many times Coach told us we weren't even going to make the national tournament that season.
We probably shouldn't mention the time that you, Cheese, and Sarah all were kindly asked to leave the Corn Palace property and never return.
Or the time that someone left the back of the bus open and we lost Amber's bag out on the interstate.
Or our incredibly fun trip to Arizona that we had, where we had so much fun.
But in all seriousness, we are honored to be the first team inducted to the DWU Athletic Hall of Fame. We definitely had a very special group that championship season.
If anyone knows Coach or played for him, they know how hard he pushes his players. However, he always gets the best out of his players, and he pushes them to be their best on and off the court.
I would say one of the best things about our group was that we were always there for one another and pick each other up whenever someone needed it. And whenever we got the opportunity to get together, just like this weekend, it's as time has never passed and we can pick up right where we left off.
We would like to do a quick thank you to a few people that really had a big impact on not only that season, but throughout all of our careers at DWU. Obviously our coaching staff, Coach Christensen, we give him a lot of crap because he gives it right back to us, but we really do have a lot of love for the guy, and if you know him personally, you know why. Coach Celeste, I mean, she does everything. She really does. Yeah. Coach has the title of head coach, but it's probably more so her. We laugh because we know it's true. Randy Christensen, again, another one that literally did everything for us. She's our second mother. We were just saying last night, what didn't she do for us? She was kind of our mediator between us and Coach when we didn't want to go to Coach for certain things. She was there to pick us up if we were kind of feeling down, or there to tape our ankles, you know, everything. So we really appreciate her. Coach Hobbs, he had an incredible impact on, again, not only that season, but just our overall growth that we had. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. Is Coach Hobbs here? I don't think so. But again, want a huge thank you to him. Pat Essig, man, what a guy. He was our bus driver, and he got us amped for every single game. He was right up there bobbing along to all of our songs that we had playing, and he was awesome. He was so supportive to us, and we loved having you, Pat. And then to our families and friends for all of their support throughout the season. Sometimes we had some lows and we had a ton of highs, but again, you were always right there with us. Can't forget the Corn Crib Crazies. I know you heard some stories earlier, but it was crazy. It was a lot of fun to be part of that atmosphere. The rest of our DWU family, and you've heard that word a lot tonight, family, but a lot of people in this room, I and all of the girls up here consider family. And it's because of DWU. And then just, again, all of those others that we don't personally say, but that supported us along the way. This is truly an honor and a memorable time in our lives. Last but not least, Coach, you're welcome for not only getting you that satisfying win against Concordia and these shiny rings on our fingers, but also for giving you 2 weeks of unlimited hot dogs at the Milwaukee Wiener House. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I will be quick here. I also want to thank the Hall of Famers tonight. Thomas, you're a great guy. The things you do for our community and the people you serve, you know, you're a great guy, and keep doing those things. Lauren, I remember going to a volleyball match, a lot of volleyball matches when my daughter was in junior high. She really looked up to you. She was long and dangly at the time, and I just always would say, Caitlin, can you just hit it like Lauren? I mean, and Dylan Turner, actually I hired Dylan Turner at UPS. He worked for me for a while, and I remember the first couple days, the way he was throwing packages around in the truck, getting them out as quick as he did and stuff. I was always wondering why you weren't a linebacker and a quarterback. I was wondering what Ross was always doing. But Kurt, we already talked about you. And then I want to go into some thank yous. These guys mentioned a few, but I just want to make sure I go through my list too here. The DW fans and community, that's been touched on by numerous people here tonight. The parents, you guys are great. I said this last night when we got together that, you know, we had a special group of parents that year. They did a lot of things together. You know, when you have parents that, you know, they all care, but they care together as a team, you can get a lot of things accomplished. And I go back to even when I coached in high school and won state titles, I had a tight-knit group of parents then too. So I appreciate that, because I just don't see that a lot nowadays. The faculty and staff, we got a great faculty and staff here, and I'm not just saying this to sell Dakota Wesleyan right now if there's a few students out here, but we do. We really do. I mean, our kids go through a lot with our coaches because our coaches do demand a lot, and our faculty demands a lot. And the way we're able to work together and make things work, a lot of schools, when I go through this list here pretty soon, you can't be a PT, you can't be a nurse, you can't be an athletic trainer, and our school finds a way to make it work. And that says a lot to our faculty and staff. The athletic department, they're great. They're always supporting us. Bob Siebert, our team maker president, Bob Sprang and Tim Smith, the radio guys. Pat Essick, yes. Pat learned a lot of rap songs in the years that he was driving bus. And I'm not very good with music, and these girls would play songs, and every once in a while there might be like 1 or 2 cuss words or whatever, and I don't catch on to them, and we'd be playing it the next time. I like the beat, so I put it on my, what's the green thing, Spotify, and I'd have it. Then my wife would be listening in the car, and she goes, "Why are you listening to this?" So I go, "The team and Pat and I, we were just listening to it. They liked it. It wasn't too bad." Another guy I want to thank is Ian, our SID in 2018. Did a lot of behind-the-scenes things, too. I want to thank Matt Wilbur, too. You know, Matt, which when we talked about Kurt earlier, you know, Kurt took a lot of chances on people. He took a chance on Matt, too, because I remember when Kurt came in my office and he said, "Hey, I'm going to hire Matt Wilbur," and that wasn't my first choice. And, you know, Kurt was like, "Well, trust me on this one." And I tell you what, just having Matt around, we do a lot of trips together. We talk a lot of basketball. He lets me book motel rooms, even though, you know, I think it was last year or 2 years ago when I booked him a room in Jamestown. Well, I accidentally booked it in Dixonson's, and he calls me up. He says, "I don't got rooms." I go, "Yeah, you do. You're in Jamestown." He goes, "Well, no, we do not have rooms." I called there, and I forgot the manager that was in Jamestown moved to Dickinson, and I booked him the wrong rooms, but he still lets me book rooms, so I'm thankful for that. Marlene Warnke, she is definitely the straw that stirs the drink in the athletic department. Randy Christensen, she's our second mom. I mean, Randy Christensen is, I wouldn't know what to do without Randy. If we ever have to get a different trainer, it's gonna be interesting because Randy does so much for these kids that people don't realize. Jane, who can't be here, I just had supper with her the other night. We got to talk a little bit. Jill and Shanna, who were the GAs, thank you for everything you did. When the season goes that long, it gets to be a grind, and I can get crabby sometimes when we're ordering food, and I'm like, "No, I wanted thin crust, I didn't want this," and these guys are really, really good with that. Dr. Margello, our team doctor, thank you so much, Doc. I think it was with this group, I don't remember which kid, but we had a kid that needed to get stitches on Thanksgiving Day, you know, and Randy's like, "I don't know who we're going to get." I go, "I'll call Doc." She's like, "Well, it's Thanksgiving Day." You know, and I'm like, "Well, I'll call him." Well, Doc was there and stitched him up. So I should probably thank you, Claudette. But thank John Hart and Kurt Hart, you know, the athletic directors that I've had have just been great. It's been great. I've already talked about Kurt, but John's always been there every step of the way. His leadership skills and the things that he's helped me with, I said this last night, it's made me a better person. And then, of course, Celeste Beck, you know, I guess our new head coach. She's awesome. A lot of people don't know this, but Celeste Beck was the very first kid I ever signed. She was the very first kid I ever recruited, and she's still with me today. So how crazy is she? Then, of course, my son Tyler and Caitlin, thank you for allowing me to coach, and of course my wife Michelle. You know, Michelle has gone through some. You know, when you're married to a coach, it's not easy. Like, I don't know how the Wilbur family does it. You know, I really don't. But when you're married to a coach, it's not easy. And my wife has always been there for me. She lets me do something that I love to do. It's my passion, and she's always been there for me. So, a couple things. Tim already touched on it, so I'm going to go through it quick. But I came up with a couple words, too, that I thought about this team, and just, you know, words that stuck is determination. No matter what was thrown at them, they never gave up. Their focus to detail was just amazing. You know, when Celeste would give the scouting report and we had a quick turnaround in the state tournament or in the national tournament, how quick their focus to detail was and the things that they picked up on. And then the commitment to each other, just being there for each other and stuff like that. And the parents, I mentioned this earlier, but the parents are awesome, and of course our fans. You know, girls, and I really mean this, and do I like rings? Do I like national championships? Of course, you guys know that, but probably the coolest thing is what these kids have achieved. Up on the stage right now, we have physical therapists, we have educators, we have chiropractors, we have nurses, we have athletic trainers, and many other occupations. And that's pretty remarkable. It really is. I got to read this last one here. Ladies, you earned this. You fought for this. I told you numerous times in the locker room, if you want something bad enough, you need to go out and take it because no one's ever going to give it to you. In the game of life, sometimes things can be taken away from you very quickly. For example, things like your health, good friends, family members, to name a couple. Like I've always told you, play the game like it's your last time on earth, whether it's life or game of basketball. Ladies, you earned it. You're Hall of Famers now, and now you're national champions. No one can ever take that away from you. Congratulations.
Congrats again to that entire group. We'll get a picture after this, okay, girls? Congrats again, ladies. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, girls, for speaking. On behalf of the DWU Athletics Department and DWU as a whole, I want to thank you again and congratulate this outstanding and accomplished Hall of Fame class of 2023. You will forever be etched into DWU history, and you have helped make the difference and set the bar for future student athletes and programs. Ladies and gentlemen, please give this group one more round of applause. Now I'd like President Kittle to come back for some closing remarks.
Well, that's a tough job to sum all this up. It's an inspirational evening. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations to all those inductees. If there's many themes for tonight, but if one of them is that DWU brings people together to accomplish great things. And you are a part of that community and a part of that family. And on behalf of the university, thank you for that. And stay connected to us, stay connected to this family, because that's what makes it strong. So thank you for everything this evening. Have a great night.
Real quick before everyone scatters, inductees and presenters, this will be the time for you to come up and take some formal pictures, okay, with Dustin Wheeler. So please take the opportunity to do that. Thank you.